yake ni kwenye structure. Time amefanya kazi nyingi sana, ikiwepo amekuwa trainer na mentor wa muda mrefu kufikia level ya kuwa mkuu wa chuo Arusha Technical College. Amekiendesha kile chuo kwa muda wa kutosha, lakini title nyingine ambayo mimi wanampa kwenye kazi zote nilizopata bahati ya kufanya naye, yeye amekuwa ndo mwenyekiti kwenye hizo timu ambazo mimi nakuwa member, amekuwa mwenyekiti. Lakini at the same time sasa hivi pia ni mwenyekiti kwenye council ya Dar es Salaam Technical College, ni mwenyekiti wa bodi ya Temdo, ni mwenyekiti nadhani auasa, na mwenyekiti wengine inawezekana nimeuskip hapa. Najua tu ni mwenyekiti. Kwa hiyo tu inakuambia mambo mengi sana. Kama anapewa huu mwenyekiti kwenye hizi bodi nyingi, maana yake kuna swala la uongozi, swala la mentorship, swala la usimamizi ndani yake liko imara. Lakini on top of that anazungumzia ethics. Sidhani kama unaweza kupewa hizi nafasi za uwenye viti kwenye mabodi yote haya bila kuwa ethical. Kwa anayokwenda kuyazungumzia yote ana practice anachokwenda kutupreachia hapa, yeye anakipractice. Naomba nichukue nafasi hii kumkaribisha Dr. Masika, lakini kwenye mambo ya innovation pia yupo sana tena. Ni founder wa Tanganyika Polytechnic College, yeye ndo mwanzilishi wake na anafanya mambo mengi sana kwenye innovation. Anasupport sana vijana kwenye innovation, na najua kwa watu wa umri wake anapenda sana haya mambo ya mitandao, 4IR anafuatilia. Ni watu wachache sana wa umri wa Dr. Masika utawakuta wanajua haya mambo ya mitandao. Nadhani Profesa Lema utakuwa shahidi. Watu wengi wa kizazi chenu haya mambo ya mitandao na kompyuta kidogo mnayaweka pembeni, lakini yeye Dr. Masika anaya-invite. Inawezekana hata sisi vijana hapo unaweza ukakaa naye akakutoa knockout kwenye mambo ya mitandao. Dr. Masika, I'm privileged to introduce you.
Yeah, event manager, the ERB chair, colleagues, engineers, mentors, mentees, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Nashukuru sana kwa ukaribisho mzuri ambao event manager ameutoa juu yangu mimi. Lakini pia nimefurahi sana kumwona mhandisi Nyambele ambaye ni classmate wangu. Tumesoma wote Mostek, Datek na kwingineko. Kwa hiyo tulikuwa wote darasa moja na Nyambele. Asante sana. Nimeona ni declare interest, conflict of interest. Unajua popote pale, haya ni mambo ya ethics. Lolote ile unalofanya kama kuna conflict of interest lazima unazideclare. Kwa hiyo baadaye akiwa na maswali magumu msishangae. The presentation has been introduced and has 3 parts. First one is mentoring principles and techniques. Second part, report writing. The third part, ethics and professional conduct. With respect to the mentoring principles and techniques, I will take you through the overview, the modalities, building effective relationships, critical mentoring skills, and potential challenges and how to address them. Allow me to start with Edgar Dell's cone of experience. This is cone of teaching and learning. So unajua kwamba kuna kujifunza na kuelimishwa, si ndio? That's where education takes place. Now, this is the cone of experience. This was developed way back in 1950s, late 50s, but in 60s it was published. And what he said that people generally people generally, they do remember, is the pointer working? Yes. They do remember only 10 to 20% of what they read and hear. And what it can do is only to define and describe, explain, that is it. But if they view images, if they watch videos, at least 30% will remember that, and a bit be able to demonstrate, apply. That is the part of outcome of, or is part of what you can do. It goes up to 70% of what they say and write if they participate in hands-on training and kind of, or even in the design lessons which we do in our institutions. The 90% of what you do or what people do is what they remember. And that gives an outcome. That enables people to do the real things, that is to design, perform, simulate, etc. Now, why am I presenting this? I'm presenting this because it may help mentors and trainees in planning for what is ahead. That's the first thing. But secondly, do you see any gap in your learning experience? When you think way back, do you see any gap? I don't want to get the answer now. We'll see later on. We have graduate engineers, and we are all so happy when we graduate, right? We come out with a lot of expectations, jobs, salary, offers, etc. That's what we come up with. But what happens in real life? Mostly this is what happens. And do you remember the gap you identified? If you took a little bit of trouble, kama ulifikiria kidogo, ukaona kwamba gap ilikuwa wapi, there's something in it here. Mentoring. Mentoring is anchored on three things. The first is professional relationship. Second is a process. And third is career management tool. That is the mentoring. It's a professional relationship and not otherwise. It's a process and is a career management tool. So the relationship is based on transitioning in knowledge, skills, attitudes, and work or thinking to transition that from a professional to a novice engineer, a fresh engineer. And it's a process whereby experienced professional engineer provides support to a graduate, to freshers, to those who are aspiring for registration. And is a career management tool that is used in companies when they want to develop their employees. We need to we need to level the ground, have a common understanding. And when we come to that, we need to know who is a mentor. Is a senior in the profession, a more experienced person? Is a guide? That's a mentor. And the role is to develop mentees, professional, unique skills and abilities, and not to make a clone out of that trainee. Because each trainee has different abilities, has different, has unique skills, and those have to be developed. Mentee or trainee, you all know who are those, and the client or employer is training placement. That is what we have. Now, there's a confusion. I don't know if you can read that, but we have coaching, we have mentoring, we have counseling, we have consulting, and we have trainer. The activities are quite similar, and there's a bit of confusion. So it's good to know what is the difference between them. And for the interest of time, let us focus only on mentoring. The rest will just come out. When there are 5 things or items which we take them as variables to give the difference. The first one, unfortunately, is not very clear, is expertise. The second is who sets the agenda. Third one is proactive or active in terms of action or acting, the power and the process. Now, as for the mentoring, the mentor is the one, when it comes to expertise, he's the expert. He's the one who is the senior in hierarchical order. Who sets the agenda? In this case, is both, because it's teaching and learning. The one who is teaching is setting training, is setting agenda and training as well. And when it comes to action, this is proactive. When we say proactive, it means that the trainee has to be proactive and the mentor as well has to be proactive depending on the situation. And the power, unfortunately here, there's no democracy. The mentor has the power. And the process is a process of passing on experience. Now, mentoring has 2 types. There's formal mentoring and informal mentoring. The informal mentoring, the goals are unspecified, outcomes are known, time frame is not fixed, and difficult to study or document unless you do it retrospectively, and many others. But looking at the formal one, goals are established just in the SEAP mentoring, outcomes measured, time is set, trainees are supported, and easy structured, and reports could be written. But also, both are involved in the planning and negotiations of what has to be done now and how best to do it. Preparing for mentoring, yes, because now we know what is mentoring. We have seen the different types of the forms, the different types of mentoring. Now, let's move forward. We have to prepare ourselves before the mentoring. The first thing is to understand that we are humans and we have different strengths, right? Isn't it? We have to do self-evaluation. Self-evaluation, we evaluate ourselves. Our strengths are in the analysis, design, research, interpretation, in terms of giving guidance, future directions, teaching, vulnerability, delegating. Some people, they don't want to delegate even to the trainees. Anakuja pale, engineer amekuwa attached, ni fresher, yani hata kudelegate vile vitu vidogo vidogo unaona shida. It's a weakness. So you have to assess yourself first. Make your own self-assessment. Collaborations, ule ushirikiano ule, working independently, sharing and humility. So assess yourself on that. How do you fare that? Because that will help you very much in nurturing and developing this fresh graduate. Because as a mentor, what you'll be doing, you are nurturing and you are developing, isn't it? So that we have good engineers. The second one is you have to develop appropriate mentoring structure. The process itself, what are you going to do? For you to do that, you have to get background information about your mentee's learning objectives. So you have to understand your mentee, get the CV before, you get also information from the ERB, you know which institution has studied. All this, they give you kind of background about the mentee. Clarify the objectives and expectations. You have to understand what are the expectations of the trainee. You will say that I haven't met the trainee. How do I set the objectives and expectations? You could prepare some questions before the trainee come, so that you ask those questions, and once you have the responses, you take time off and look at them again. From that assessment, you develop a plan. Be clear about other parties who are involved in the training, because yourself, you did a self-evaluation here, right? And in the self-evaluation, you observed, now you have to bring in others to help you to bridge those weaknesses. And that is your strength, in fact, because you have turned your weaknesses into strength. You know that fulani ni mzuri sana kwenye hili, nikimwachia hii atampeleka vizuri. Kwa hiyo you do it. I mean, it's common. And with that, you prepare for the first meeting. Now, the mentoring plan is part of preparation for mentoring. When a mentee, when your trainee comes up, after the interview and exposing him to the company or organization, you could challenge the trainee to come up with a mentoring plan. That will also give you expectations, because a lot of problems, they come from the mismatch. You find that a trainee is not happy because he's not meeting his or her expectations, and the mentor also is not happy because he's not seeing changes in this trainee, because what is happening, things are not working, but it's just a mismatch of expectations. Your expectations and the mentees or trainees' expectations are missing. So with this, you could bridge that. The mentoring plan can include setting professional goals, indicating how the goals will be achieved, the role of the mentor to the career development. A trainee should not expect that we are going to babysit him or her. No, has to work. And he has to understand that it's a serious business, it's the real world of work, has to do so. And you also understand, you make trainee understand what is your expectations out of him. So what do you expect? Because that is will help the trainee. What are the attributes of the mentor? Mentor has to be a good listener, open and honest, has to have ability to perceive what the mentee, expectations of the mentee or trainee, be able to manage conflict resolution and conflicts, and also push back the trainee to the mentoring plan. And the method is one-on-one, that is direct, but you could also use a committee or a team, or bring in other colleagues. And with technology now, using Skype, Zoom, WebEx, even WhatsApp, that also, you bring in technology, because you cannot be present always, and training could be on site, couple of kilometers or hundreds of kilometers, but still you could do that because we have technology, isn't it? So it shouldn't be really space and place and location confined. It can be anywhere. Use technology, provided you'll be having kind of sessions where you will have physical meetings. So the role of the mentor here. will be first to motivate, because a demotivated person go nowhere. Ni kama mpira ambao hauna upepo ndani yake, hata upige kwa nguvu namna gani hauendi. It's the same. So first you have to motivate the trainee. This is not really coaching, but in inverted comma, you have to coach the trainee, inspire, teach, have a teamwork, give vision, and lead by example. So if you are asking the trainee to follow specifications and make sure that, say, whatever is clean before is fixed or this and that, but you are not doing that, you're asking the trainee to put on safety gears, and safety gears are there. You are not putting on safety gears. It won't work. So you have to be an example. That's how it is. Normally, institutions create mentoring program. So that is the one which we have been talking about, in which SIP trainees are paired with more experienced people in order to obtain professional guidance and advice. Now, the mentoring, when you start it, first you have to explain how the firm or institution or project work. What is it? So that the mentee could, or trainee could position himself within that. You have to assist the mentee now by encouraging, but first by sharing the knowledge, encouraging and providing growth experience. That is the motivation. And in terms of behavior, has to be ethical and confidentiality. Has to understand that now there are things which they have to remain within the office, within the company, and there are things which, they see them and they have to be tight-lipped. It's not that they are unprofessional, but those are business secrets which they have to be with the firm, with the company, with the institution. So they have to understand that. And they have to understand that they have no right to speak. Meaning they are not the spokesperson of the firm, company, organization. It has its own organization structure and someone responsible for that. Be a person who offers a solution to problems. Now, there should be responsibilities of the mentees and responsibilities of the mentor. And here are the responsibilities of the mentee or trainee. First is to fulfill the goal of being there. That is the first responsibility. And that has to be in line with the agreed activities. Because remember, you planned, you asked questions, you took that information, you prepared a plan, you discussed the plan with the mentee, and then you agreed that now that will be the roadmap. Now, if that is the agreed roadmap, then a mentee has to follow it and has to fulfill the goals and activities which are included in that. Has to have commitment to be a serious mentee or trainee. Not someone who comes on and off and always is busy with phones. No, not that kind of thing. Be ready for advice and counseling, and has to understand that there are some mentors, also some people who they are not that sophisticated, or they have a different style. Anavyotoa ushauri wake ni kama vile anakugombeza. Sasa inabidi mtu aelewe ili aweze kulearn na kwenda nalo. Be open in working with the mentor. If someone is not open or do not like to work with another person, then it's very difficult to learn. You can only learn from the person you like to be with, right? So that is important. And when it comes to technology, I believe that trainees, these fresh graduates or graduate engineers, they are more exposed than most of the mentors, even myself. So be ready also to share that with the mentor. Mentor will be happy, and mentor will learn from you. So it's a two-way traffic that trainees are learning, but mentor as well from this aspect is learning. Be motivated and trustworthy mentee. Mentor expectations to foster a positive self-image of the mentee. So make sure that mentee holds you high. You know, see that, yes, this is like a brother, is like a sister, is like, you know, holds you high. Encourage responsible behavior of the mentee, of the trainee. You encourage the trainee to be responsible, take responsibilities and be responsible, both for good and bad. You know, if you cannot, we do make mistakes, and let's take responsibilities for our mistakes. We do good things and make success. Let's also take responsibility for that. So they have to understand that there are ups and downs. Work towards achieving an understanding of the mentee's aspirations, encouragement, and monitoring of trainees program. So that has to go. Time flies, so you have to make sure that you monitor the program as well. Finally, what we are saying here is that is accountability for both mentor and mentee. Both sides are responsible for that. Now, what are the core mentoring skills? The core mentoring skills, we have, these are the mentee-specific skills and mentor-specific skills. The common domain here, this is the core mentoring skills. Let me ask, if hii presentation sitakuwa accessible, wataipata? Okay, it will be available. So the presentation will be available so that I don't really go to, I just focus on the core mentoring skills, which are simple: listening actively, building trust, encouraging, identifying goals and current reality. If you take this, put down on the table the program, go through together, in this spirit is going to be successful. There should be frequent meeting with trainee. Now the question is when to schedule meetings between mentor and mentee. Schedule the meetings when you can listen actively. And meetings, make sure that they are within the workplace or in official areas, not in private areas. This is a professional relationship and not otherwise, right? When you are talking to the mentee, make sure that there's eye contact. Talk to the mentee, because that also encourages the mentee, understand that you are there, and take off your mind all other things. Make your mind empty and be ready to get this new information. Show that you are listening. Do not engage in phones, because we find that most people nowadays, with this new generation, you are talking to someone and you are chatting, it's very difficult. So to me it's difficult, but to you it's easy, but professionally it's not allowed. It's not a good thing. So do not do that. Check in to be sure that you are understanding. And at the end of that situation, it's good to make a summary, just a verbal summary, to make sure that you understand each other and you are on the same page. Don't judge. Don't judge, but also don't interrupt unless you find that the explanations are very long And when you interrupt, don't interrupt in a rude way. So make sure that you interrupt, but give room for the mentee to talk. Because we find that some of us, before the way we are, before a mentee starts explaining something, you say, oh yes, tunaifahamu zamani sana ilikuwa. Then the mentee will say, yes, we took samples. Yes, the samples, Now, what is mentee going to say now? Has no room even to explain what he or she did, right? So those kind of things. And respond appropriately to that. How to ask questions? You have to build kind of question frameworks. It's difficult when you do it for the first time. But if you have done it once or twice, you find that is easy. It comes without even thinking. It goes without even saying the way it is. Ask insightful questions. Questions that challenge thinking is important. And questions that provide alternatives and another perspective. Questions that open up possibilities. Why not do this? Why don't you try that? Why don't you go here? Why don't you go to the YouTube and, you open, maybe the solution is within the hands of the trainee or mentee, just hasn't thought about it, or, and the important thing here is to make sure that you ask the right thing. Now, when things are not going, there's performance gap, there's poor performance. Come up with constructive strategies to overcome that. And use wisdom and timing when confronting the mentee. Because you have to consider also this is a human being, maybe has other social problems. And if you add this poor performance or performance gap, which we have seen to that, it's like just lighting up the fire and things won't work. So you observe and you see, no, kama mtu mzima, hebu ngoja kidogo. Then you look for appropriate time when you bring up this person. Mentors should avoid criticizing. Give constructive comments. Repetition of shortcomings. Wewe kila siku nishakwambia mara 100 kwamba hapa hii soma sentimita 10, wewe unasoma, find out why is this mistake or error repetitive? Is a repetitive error. What should we do? Is it coming out of accuracy or precision? Is it whatever gauge is out of calibration or what? Try to find some reasons. And so you avoid things that you are never like that, or you are always, I don't know. Don't do that. And allow the trainee to do things on try and error, but not for too long, because this is money, right? You cannot allow the trainee just to do things while you are losing money. So make sure that you don't allow that to happen. And also don't let the personal friendship clog the mentoring plan. Kwa sababu sasa mahusiano yanaweza yakaziba tena ile mentoring plan. Don't allow that to happen. And in choosing best approach is to tell someone how to handle the situation. You share the experience. You ask for a series of questions to discover what is the best solution, and also respect the privacy of the mentee. Not in the evening you sit there and say, yule masika, yule trainee, sijaona kichwa maji kama yule. No. You don't take them to the evening social. No, respect the privacy of the mentee, right? Things that could hinder mentoring. There are things on the side of mentee or trainee which you find that the trainee is unfocused. It's not following through. That is a very difficult situation. I think you need to sit down and refocus. You find there are some trainees who are manipulative, especially when you have 2-3 people overseeing the mentee at the same time. The mentee the trainee can also manipulate you, and you start having problems in the office. So you have to look at it carefully. Don't allow that to happen. And you find that mentee is not just ready, is avoiding you always. You try to do this, goes that way, you try that. That also can hinder could hinder the mentoring and consume you. The mentors run into a situation where need professional help, meaning that there are things which maybe is new technology or something which you are not, it's not in your area of specialization, then that could hinder the mentoring. And what you have to do here is to find the right person to assist you. But sometimes mentors, they forget the boundaries. You know, there are boundaries. There are professional boundaries, and there are also personal boundaries. That is very dangerous. And also, there are odd situations in terms of ethics and favors. So, I mean, these ethical matters and favors, they hinder mentorship many times. Now, there are other things that have been classified into the mentor, mentee, and organizational. When it goes to the mentor, you find that the mentor is too directive. Ni mtu wa miongozo tu, arrogant, lakini anaona pia huyu anayekuja huyu, the power issues, it's like he's just taking over. So, you know, not mature or experienced enough, that also could be a problem, and poor communication. For mentee, you find the mentee is very defensive. Whatever you tell the mentee is already, no. See that, then you have unclear, mentees are unclear about the goals, the power issues, confidentiality, unwilling to learn, unclear expectations, and poor communication. As for the organization, is unclear expectations, lack of reward or recognition. Even if you don't have money, then at least a award or a certificate or something that recognizes the performance of the mentee and mentor, both the trainer and the trainee and the mentor as well. And no time or resources to support. This is a big issue. Poor communication and poor relationships and chain of command. You find that if the chain of command is not clear, also can hinder the mentoring, whereby you find that mentee is assigned tasks attracting liabilities, and the terms of reference do not allow that. So that is a challenge. Now, why should one be a mentor? Kwa nini niwe mentor? Yeah, why? Unfortunately, very fortunately, the board chair, Professor Engineer Nenatubulema mentioned it. It is our duty and responsibility. And we have to do it because it is right and just to do it. Now, while doing it, you develop transferable skills. You promote the ERB and the CEP program, gain opportunities to work with people from other backgrounds. You be a role model and you build a legacy, which is good. And it is for your CV is an added up, and also the PDU is an added up. And you are giving to the community something back. Give to the community back. You give something back. Those are few things. But the only difference between foreign engineers, there are many differences. One of the differences between foreign engineers and us is that there is mentorship program, a mentorship style. The foreigner, you know, I would say that these young engineers, could start their career very quickly if we are ready and willing to share without reservations what we know. And sharing not only what we know professionally, but also the links which we have and the thinking. That they will start at a different level, not where we started. Look at the most successful consultants. They had very good mentors. They worked under very good mentors. We look at the board chair of the ERB, Engineer Tubulema. He worked under the mentorship of Professor Parker from Washington. And that professor is very old now. He's in his early 90s. He's a very good professor. And it made him, and most of those who passed through the hands of that professor, they are very good. But also there are others who passed in working places through professional engineers, through hands of consult engineers who mentored them. They made it. So let us, to see our choyo, let us share. Let us be ready and willing to develop this. Now, there are questions for mentors. These questions, these are the questions which you have to ask yourself. I'm leaving them for you, the mentors. There are questions also for mentee, which mentee has to ask himself or herself. And there's a practice here. There's something, time is not allowing, but I thought we could form groups and work on this question, but we can't because the time is not allowing that. Anyway, take it, you can still do it back home in your office. Mimi ni mwalimu, siwezi kumaliza bila kutoa homework. Na test ilikuwepo pia. There's homework here as well. So if registrar gives me permission, I can give it. Now, let's say that there's no formula for the perfect mentor. And mentoring, this is a definition of mentoring, but it's, don't take it very serious because this is, we're trying to make a meaning from each letter of the mentoring. This is it, it's just a kind of a game. And this has taken us to the end of part one of this presentation, which was mentoring techniques. How did you find it? Yeah, thank you. So now we are going to the report writing for engineers. And this will have 4 parts: forms and importance of written communication in business, types, qualities, structure, and style of report, good report writing process, basic tools for improving writing. This is very important for both novice engineers and professional engineers. And I want you to approach it with a fresh mind. So please rise up a bit. Simameni kidogo basi, maana naona hii inahitaji kuwa fresh kwa kweli. Ile mentoring ilikuwa kuzungumza. Hii ina maana kwamba inabidi to stretch yourself a bit. Lakini usimpige ngumi mwenzako, maana naona mwingine anafanya makusudi hivi. Sasa that's not allowed. Okay, thank you. Please, you may take your seat. Thank you. Yeah, nyie watatu hapo naomba msimame nyie. Hamkusimama. Wewe mwenye miwani hapo. Ulisimama kweli wewe? Nyuma huyu dada mwenye nyekundu nyuma yako wewe. No, behind. The one sitting behind. Please raise up. Stretch. You may sit now because you didn't. Good. Yes. Now, the types of written communication. There's a formal communication and informal communication. Informal communication, you remember this, right? Also, it's part of the informal communication. Now, the formal communication has to be clear and be able to transfer information in a verifiable way. And there's internal formal communication, there's external formal communication, which happens through letters, memorandums, etc. You'll see them. Engineers perform technical writing to communicate relevant information that is needed by upper management to make intelligent decisions that will affect a company's future. So you find that a project engineer will write a detailed knowledge, something to the upper management, and the management will respond back with decision and control, because you have a lot of wishful things, you write them up, and they come back with a directive, with decision, what has to be done. Many engineers spend a third or a half of their work time engaged in technical writing. As you go higher, you move away from the shop floor and you write more. Now, what they do write, they include proposals, manuals, bids, progress reports, emails, because engineers nowadays, we are even marketers, as the Honorable RC has said. We have to market ourselves as well. That is part of the report writing. Today, we are focusing on these technical reports. Technical writing. Technical writing is the expository writing used to convey information for technical or business purposes. Sio mambo ya entertainment, sio udaku, no. And it has to be concise and clear, and should not invite several interpretations. So it has to mean what really you wanted to say. So engineers write technical reports or engineering reports to communicate technical information and conclusions about projects, legal issues, or even to other engineers. The technical report layout has these three parts. You have the front cover, you have the back cover. In between, you have front matter, this one here, table of content, title page, abstract, table of content, I don't know, acronyms, list of figures, whatever, all those are there. The second one is text. And as for the text, unfortunately, the screen is not very clear. That's where you have summary, you have introduction, you have methods, assumptions, whatever, results, conclusion, references, etc. That is the structure. Now, a well-written report conveys intended information to the targeted audience in a concise, attractive way to read. It is logical, has good flow, and inspires to read. Najua kuna ripoti ukipokea, unajikuta ulisema napitia tu, unaisoma unaimaliza. Kuna nyingine ukipokea, yani kwa kweli utasikia, mara unahitaji kunywa kahawa kidogo, mara nini, maana haiendi ilivyoandikwa. Sasa ripoti yako kama ndio hivyo, yani ufiki mbali. And it has to be attractive and concise. Isiwe refu sana, lakini usitumie maneno magumu sana, yale terminology yale ambayo mnasema siyo mabombastic, siyo manene. Hapana, tumia simple language. Sema unachokitaka. That is it. That's what people want, isn't it? Just say what you want to say in a simple language. The types of engineering reports are investigations, research, records of events. Those are the types which we have. And the target audience is corporates, private sectors, government, the authorities like ERB, QRB, CRB, IET, and others, PPRI, etc. The objective of engineering report is to show, now is with respect to ERB. Now we have moved out from general approach, now we are narrowing down to specificity, meaning that we are narrowing down to the ERB, is to show that a formal training and mentoring program was followed, and show the inputs of mentor and mentee, because both they did something. To demonstrate that the mentee has acquired the following. Now this is very important. Has acquired technical skills in analysis and design. Has acquired management skills to execute engineering projects. Has acquired economical touch in solutions. Don't come up with solutions which are uneconomical, because everything is money, it costs money, and you have to be economical. Knows how to use codes and manuals, that's professional codes and manuals, and right communication skills. Now these communication skills is, this animal is really hunting us engineers. We have to improve our communication. There in the YouTube, there are a lot of things about on communication. You are writing a report about something. Why don't you Google quickly, see other reports, similar reports, and how they wrote it, how was it? Then you get an idea and you just go on from there. Kuliko kuandika kama vile wewe ndo mgunduzi, wewe ndo Vasco da Gama. Wapi? Hivi vitu viko kwenye mtandao vingi tu. Nenda, soma, angalia, lakini usikopi kitu ambacho hujafanya, usikopi kitu ambacho ukielewe. Hakisha kwamba umekielewa, hakisha kwamba unachukua tu kile ambacho umeshafanya. Weka hapo, nenda, ukifanya mara 2 3 unakuta sasa unaanza kuwa na maneno yako mwenyewe, uwezo wako mwenyewe, na unaendelea. So this who sio ulemavu, communication skills, is something that we can improve, and we have to do that. Professional code of also we have to make sure that has acquired professional code of ethics and work attitude, professional code of ethics, conduct inakosekana, and work of attitude, leadership and reliability for the professional level, and fit person to be awarded the recognition of professional engineers. Now those are things which those are the objectives. Kwa kila kinachofanyika inakuwa ni kukusanya kidogo kidogo, kuona hiki kimefanyika na hiki kimefanyika, and you pick the evidences as well. Unaposema kwamba ametumia codes, ni codes zipi ametumia, andike mahali. Ikiwezekana hata tengeneza table. Unaambia kila siku unachofanya, hebu angalia umefanya kipi kati ya hizi hapa, andika hapo. Alafu unaweka. Mwishoni report ikijaandikwa, unakuta kwamba all these have been captured. General structure of the report, it is here. I'm not reading through because you'll be having this paper. Competences of report writer is good command of language. Kama unaandika Kiswahili kwa ajili ya madiwani na wengine, andika Kiswahili basi kilichonyooka. Sio kwamba Kiingereza unaandika mgogoro, Kiswahili unaandika mgogoro, hapana. Basi amua. Do it well, because you can do it anyway. It's just a matter of taking time, concentrating, and being ready ready and willing to do it. You have to know the subject matter. You have to know what you are writing, and you have to understand the audience. Kama unaandikia madiwani, unajua kwamba unawaandikiaje. Kama unamwandikia labda chief engineer, unajua kwamba unamwandikiaje. Kama unaandika, inategemea ni client mwingine. You have to understand your client. Lazima muelewe kwamba ni nani wewe ili uweze kufanya hivyo. You have to do that. Good focus on message of the report in logical, concise, and short, interesting presentation, as mentioned earlier. Now, after all that, you start planning the report. You collect the information randomly, and you just write them in different ways as you think that it has to be. Then you write down the topics, the ideas, and try to structure them a bit well. But the logical structuring of the report, you can do it at the end. First is to have that one. With this, you come to that is the planning side. Then you go to the first draft. And here is where I say that you have to understand the target audience, because that is what will give you the details, the scope of the report. That's where you will understand that the skeleton, whether the skeleton which you have is right, and what kind of meat you should fill into the draft report. Revise the first draft report, and when you're revising it, take cognizance, take into mind or appreciate the readership, who is going to read it. So you read it as a third person, not as a first person. Make sure that you use the power of engineers. The power of engineers, it is in the diagrams, graphs, tables, mathematical derivations, but very little of it have to be into the main text, the main body. Throw them into the annexures, into the appendices. That's where they belong. In the main report, use only those which you think that they are important. So, as it is, appearance is everything. Because the first appearance will attract people to the audience, the target audience, to look at your report. So the appearance has to be good, and the formatting also has to be consistent in terms of fonts applied, in terms of sizes. Don't come up with kind of a Christmas tree. That means that you use more than 10 times, 3, 4, 5 types of fonts. Use different colors, too many colors, like nursery school kid. You know, make sure that you select the things properly. And you have also consider that colors have meaning. So if you are designing for hospital, or you are supplying things to the hospital, they have their colors. They have blue, they have this. Gray color is used by certain profession. So just Google profession and color. You know, if you start using even the colors which they know them, they associate themselves with, it means that you are already getting closer to them. So you do that. The headings, properly label your headings and the appropriate subheadings. And make sure that the subheadings sections, they correspond to the headings as well. Because you find that there's a heading, but when you go to subheadings or you go to the sections, you find that they don't fit within that at all. If not, take it out and take it to the appropriate section. Proofreading, it is recommended, strongly recommended to use a colleague to proofread, because after going through the report several times, you reach a stage where whatever you see, you think that is right. You see even words which are not written there. Unasoma unaona hapa hii kuna sema the director this they haipo, lakini kwa sababu tayari umeshazoea na unahitaji au unaiona kama ipo pale, lakini haijaandikwa pale. You give it to a third person, will look at it and will assist you so much. But you have to be ready to assist others as well, so that you could enjoy that reciprocal arrangement. Again, let me emphasize that only convey what you know and what is required. Don't convey what you don't know and what is not required. Excess information in our business is not encouraged. It will not help us much. And you have to focus on the needs of target readership and the audience. Now, this takes us to the end of report writing, but let me take you back here. This is a general layout, and the one which I talked about in general, it is in detail, it is a format for the ERB reports. So this will help you in your daily reports. Maybe some of you are very good at it, but it's good to learn something new. With this, now we come to the end of the second part, and we are going to the third part of the presentation, which is engineering ethics and professional conduct in engineering. Okay. Why too fast? No? Is it okay? Okay, thank you. Now, let's come to the ethics. This has got 3 parts, and it's a hot thing. That's why I even used red color, because this is a very serious matter. We will look at the ethical principles, ethics and codes of professional conduct, and thirdly, the engineers and the society, because we are working for the society. Herbert Hoover was the 31st, fortunately it's not seen, this one, it's not clear, it was the 31st president of the United States of America. And his tenure of office was in the late 20s and early 30s, if I'm not mistaken. He was a mining engineer, politician, and the president of the United States of America. He said that the great liability of the engineer compared to men of other professions is that his works are out in the open where all can see them. His acts, step by step, are in hard substance. He cannot bury his mistakes in the grave like the doctors. He cannot urge them in the thin air or blame the judge like the lawyers. He cannot, like the politician, screen his shortcomings by blaming his opponents and hope that the people will forget. The engineer simply cannot deny that he did it. We cannot deny. If his work do not work, he is damned forever. So that is what this guy said. And it's true. That's why we need to go to the morals, ethics, and professional code of conduct. What are the morals? The morals are individuals' own code for acceptable behavior. What is acceptable to me? That is the moral. It's a matter of conscience. It's something guided by individual behavior. And what is ethics? The ethics deals with right and wrongs. So it is a matter of rightness or wrongness of human behavior. That is ethic. It's not, and it is concerned with motivation behind the behavior itself. the engineering ethics is how we act and live as engineers. What we have to consider when making decisions. And it is according to what standards are these actions or decisions right or wrong. Now this is taking us back to the principles of design, field data, etc., etc. Shortly, engineering ethics is how engineers morally act as engineers. This is professional ethics and not personal ethics. There are things which are ethical for engineers, but unethical personally. But as an engineer, you have no choice. You have either to declare and not do it, or do it. But if you don't do it, then you lose your job. I have just spoken about personal ethics and a bit about morality. Now, let's look on the professional ethics. What is involved into that? Some things we do unconsciously or unknowingly. This involves defining, analyzing, evaluating, resolving the problems. That is part of the professional ethic, because those are the tools which you use in making right decision or wrong decision, right? You need those to make a decision. And also refers to the professional behavior in summary. So, obvious difference between professional ethics is that it has to do with ethical standards accepted by the professional community. That's why we have apart from the code of conduct, we have design standards, we have the manuals, we have codes of practice. All these, they line us up into the professional ethics. They assist us on that. So, in summary, morals are the principles of right and wrong. Ethics is a set of moral principles guiding behavior and action. And laws, those are binding codes of conduct formally recognized and enforced. And in the companies, we have policies and guidelines. You know, there's not really a classification, but is a classification of actions. Let's say we have ethical domain, unethical domain, and we have ethical domain. Now, something could be unethical but legal, and also be ethical and illegal, which is right. But unethical and legal, that is a bit conflicting, right? And as well, it could be illegal, as you can see there. It could be illegal, but and unethical is fine. But it could be illegal and ethical. I think you are getting me right? Now, what are those? I would like you all to give one example. You write down your own example of what is legal, unethical but legal. To me, I've given you the slave trade. Slave trade then, when it was done those days, was unethical but illegal. So they are doing it because it was allowed. Now, do you have your own example on that? Something which is illegal and ethical, what is it? It is illegal but ethical. An example I've given here is wrong parking. An accident happens, and right beside the sign forbidding you from parking there. But there's an accident, and you want to serve the victim. What you do, you park there and you assist them. That is illegal, but ethical. Now the rest is unethical and illegal. That's like killing someone. That is unethical and illegal as well. And there's this ethical and illegal is what we are doing. We're designing safe systems, products, etc. Now, could you come up with an example on each one? What is legal, unethical but legal? What is ethical but illegal? At least these two. Think about it, is your assignment. Let's look at 2 dimensions of ethics in engineering. Ethics is part of engineering for 2 main reasons. Engineers need to be socially responsible when building or manufacturing products and processes for the society, because we develop processes for the society, we manufacture for the society, and we as well build for the society. And the social responsibility requires professional responsibility on that. Now, the ethical principles are autonomy. You have that autonomy as an engineer when you are designing. Doing for good of others, you have to think about others when you are doing it. Justice, you have faithfulness or loyalty, confidentiality, truth, and no harm done to others, meaning that do to others as you would like to be done unto you. Where the ethical issues can arise, it is in the conceptualization. Yaani mradi unapoanza tu, pale tayari mambo ya ethics yanakuja kwenye concept. Tayari ile concept wenzako wanaangalia huku, wewe unaangalia kule. You have got your own agenda in the mind. Design. When you are designing, you can purposely over-design, and then when it comes to the real implementation, you just implement it with deviation from the design a bit, because you know it will be safe. You over-design purposely. Manufacturing, sales, manufacturing, you find that first testing. Testing, you accept substandard, you change the results from wrong to correct, to failure to pass. Manufacturing, you manufacture products which kind of disposable. Lifespan is, say, 2 years, but in a week is broken, like the products which we import mostly from Far East countries, including China. You know, those are unethical products. Supervision and the project teams, the timelines and budget you play with them, expectations, opinion, and judgments. The products, I've said, unsafe and less than useful products. You design for obsolescence. Yani umedesign na kutengeneza kwa ajili ya kutupa. You do dumping. That is, it is unethical. Use inferior materials and components and unforeseen harmful to society. Now, ethics and engineering. When we are making ethical decisions, there's no ethical decision which is great. This is a great decision. This is it is just good. It is just right or wrong, and not more than that. You cannot say this is an ideal. No. Is it right? Is it wrong? So that is is part of the ethics of, part of principles of the ethics. Ethical decision will not always satisfy everybody, will not be the best interest of everybody, because we think differently. Some, they want to turn wrong into right, and you are getting things right. So definitely that decision is not going to be, ethical decision is not going to be of best interest to everyone. You have been given a code of conduct and ethics for engineers. I think you got it today, right? Those who took the oath or affirmation, you have it. You have the book, right? So that is the one. Make sure that you go through this one to remind yourself. It is just like any other holy book. It's the same, but we go through it every Sunday, every Friday, every Saturday. So it's important to do that. Impact of an engineer's ethical decisions on products and services is safety, utility, and cost. What is the impact to the company and stakeholders? Again, is service, safety, and utility. The public and society, it has to be of benefit to the people. And when you come to the environment, we are talking about PPPP. That is not a public-private partnership. This is a planet-people prosperity. Planet-people prosperity. It is in the SDGs, is Sustainable Development Goals, Global Goals for Development. It's part of it, environment. It has to be in the back of your mind. It's an ethical matter. You have, as a profession, think about how the public view it, and law, is it lawful, and personal position, the internal morals and conflict. Think about them. Typical ethical issues that engineers encounter are safety. We compromise the safety sometimes. Accept risks which are unacceptable. When it comes to compliance, we also, it's a matter of ethical. We fail to comply. Confidentiality, we give out information which really shouldn't have been given out. So, data integrity, you cook that data. That is unethical, to cook data. Don't do that. Conflict of interest. If you have conflict of interest, declare it. Don't just go on it. You know, that's why at the beginning I declared the conflict of interest that Boniface Nyambele is my classmate. So if he raises his hand, I'll just stop and listen to him. So now, societal impact, fairness, kickbacks, the kickbacks, and accounting for uncertainty. So those are ethical matters. Why ethics is important? Growing dependence on technology and science, it makes us to be more concerned with ethics, because the non-compliance have disastrous consequences. They cause disasters, really, even in the chemical industries and elsewhere. Public trust and expectations are very high. If we lose that, we lose our jobs as engineers. We are a respected profession. And it's important because, again, is closely related to the public and environment. PPP, planet, people, prosperity. So it's related to that. How do we view ourselves? We view ourselves first as problem solvers, right? There's a problem, we give it an engineering solution. I take it as an enjoyable profession. We create. Who else creates? It's just engineers. Engineering is of benefit to the people. It provides public services. And engineering provides the most freedom of all professions. Because in the process of designing, creation, we have all autonomy, we have all freedom to come up with something which is really different. And engineering is an honorable profession. Remember, you are a professional. You are a member of a profession that has many worth accomplishments. You and your profession can do much to help and improve quality of life. Be exemplary mentor and a hero to your mentees. Be an exemplary mentor and a hero to your mentee. Just as a building, it has a structural integrity. When it is designed in such a way that it can appropriately carry stresses and loads that are designed to act under it or onto it. Just as a building can have poor integrity or good integrity, and so persons also can have poor integrity or good integrity. Be among those who have good integrity. A person has integrity when he or she can follow the codes she is supposed to follow under the stresses and the loads of his or her role. Because the role you are playing, it gives you enough stresses and enough loads. Now, if you can follow the codes as you are supposed to and carry those, then you are a person of integrity. And remember that integrity is not only doing by the book, but also apply your knowledge so that you give economical solutions. I have a clip which I would wish you to listen to if technology will allow. I'm seeing that it's not. Cannot accept it. No, it's not accepting. Pardon? No, go back, go up. Go up, up, up. Yes. I see that the technology is not working, but since you let's move forward. It's okay. Turn it. Yes. Let us contribute our time to make Tanzania's engineers the best in the world, and that is through mentoring. So what we are doing is walking the graduate engineers towards mastery and eventually becoming registered professional engineers. We start with, I've tried to make a kind of a two-dimensional graph there with ordnance projects worked on, and the abscissa, the time spent, or the x-axis. We start with getting familiar, then we get experience, they get experience, achieve mastery, write report, and eventually become a PE, professional engineer. But all along, the engineering ethics from time zero is there going up to the end, and it continues, it never stops. With this, we are saying that those having torches will pass them on to others. This is not me, it's Plato who said it. Plato ndiye aliyesema. Sasa Plato wako wengi tu. Asante sana. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Asante sana, Engineer Dr. Richard Masika. Another round of applause to Dr. Masika. Makofi mengi mengi jamani. Nadhani tutakubaliana kwamba presentation ilikuwa rich na tumejifunza mambo makubwa matatu. Na mimi nimepokea ya kwangu hapa. Tumefundishwa mentorship. Hata wale walio hapa leo tumekuwa professional engineers, tumeapa, maana sisi tumesogea hatua moja mbele. Kwa hakikisha unavorudi popote unapofanya kazi uwe na watu. Yaani uwe na watu, hakikisha uwe na mtu ambaye anaweza kusema I say fulani kanisaidia sana. Afu kumenta mtu, it's not about money, it's not about anything. At time mentorship yako ni jinsi tu unavyo-behave, jinsi unavyofanya kazi. Mtu automatically tu anakuadmire, atakufuata mwenyewe. Zile guidance unazompa ndio tayari una mentor hapo. Kwa hiyo tujitahidi jamani. Taalamu tulionao, knowledge tulionayo, tuipeleke pia kwa walio chini yetu. That is how tutatransfer knowledge. Lakini pia tumepata darasa la report writing. Na mwisho kabisa, lakini sio kwa umuhimu, ethics. Ethics ina changamoto sana. Nilifundishwa wakati fulani, niliambiwa changamoto ya ethics huwa inakwenda na frustration versus expectations. Achievement, unavyo expect kupata mambo makubwa, achievement inakuwa ndogo, inakuletea frustrations. Namna ya kuzicontrol frustrations zako, unaturn kuwa unethical. Hasa hapo katikati kwenye frustrations, expectations, achievement haipatikani nini, anakuja Dr. Chris Mauki. Yeye anafanya stress management. Anakuja sasa kutuonyesha tuna manage vipi stress zetu. Yale mambo yale unahangaika huku, umepiga nyanga, umedesign nini, nyanga zimegoma. Kuna ka safety factor pale umekadumbukiza hata akakuepo. Kumbe umepika kidogo, kuna data zingine ulizotumia kudesignia zilipikwa kidogo, mambo yaenda sawa. Vitu vimeporomoka huko. Watu tunakuwa hapa kwa sababu tuko wahandisi pekee yetu, inabidi tuongee tu. Wao tunakuwa mstari wa mbele kubisha, wana siasa wanatushambulia. Lakini tunavyoongea it's as if sisi wahandisi tuko clean 100%, yani sisi hatukologi mambo. Sasa hizi kwa sababu tuko wenyewe inabidi tuwekane sawa. Kuna muda na sisi watu tunakologa kidogo. Sasa Dr. Chris Mauki yeye ana masters na PhD kwenye haya mambo haya ya psychology. Lakini kuna eneo moja daktari ulinipa profile yako, mimi nikaamua kujiongeza. Pamoja na profile ulionipa nikaamua kujiongeza kwenda kwa mtandaoni kukutafuta. Ile PhD yako najua ulifanya University of Pretoria. Alafu ukaenda kufanya na postdoc. Sasa ile kitu ulichokuwa unakifanya wakati tunafanya postdoc, nacho itabidi hapa utugusia hapa kinatuhusu. Huyu jamaa bwana amefanya kitu kwenye mambo ya madhara ya divorce zile kwa watoto, nini kinakuja kuwakuta watoto huku kwenye divorce zinavyotokea. Na hizi kazi zetu hizi za kushinda kwenye masaiti huko Dr. Mauki, inawezekana sisi ni wateja wako wakubwa kweli, kwa sababu tunashinda site, tunatengeneza huko mahusiano mapya, yale ya zamani tunayavuruga, mwisho wa siku tunajikuta tuko kwenye dimbwi la madivorce na nini. Yaani humu inawezekana una wateja wa kutosha. Dr. Chris Mauki, karibu sana bro.
Okay, habari ya mchana. Good afternoon. Okay, kwa mara ya kwanza niko kwenye kundi kubwa ambalo lina engineers wengi kuliko wasio engineers, and with due respect I salute your presence. Mara mwisho nilikuwa na watu wa wale architects and quantity surveyors pale Diamond tukiongea mambo ya mindset change. Majina yangu naitwa Dr. Chris Mauki, nafanya kazi na Chuo Kikuu cha Dar es Salaam, idara ya saikolojia, lakini vile vile nafanya kazi kama motivation speaker pamoja na provider wa psychological and psychosocial services kwenye taasisi za serikali pamoja na kampuni binafsi, lakini pia tunafanya one-on-one sessions counseling kwenye masuala ya ndoa, mahusiano, malezi na maendeleo binafsi. Kama alivyosema mheshimiwa, nimepata neema ya kupita huko kwenye shule za maeneo hayo, na ndio nikapata hii skill. Kama anavyosema, si tu kwamba baadhi au maengineer watakuwa wateja, lakini ndio namba nzuri ya wateja wangu ofisini kwangu, na nitawaambia kwa nini, na ndio maana ninashukuru mmenialika. Uzuri wa field niliyoko mimi ya mahusiano haina profession. Uwe engineer utapenda, utapendwa. Uwe architect utapendwa. Uwe mwalimu utapenda, utapendwa. Na engineer vile vile utaachwa, utapigwa chini, ndoa itavunjika, ataolewa mwingine, atachiti, utazaa nje. Yani none of profession, yani wote wateja wangu. Sasa ili nikusaidie leo, nataka nikupe hii topic inaitwa stress management. Stress management. Kwa sababu na uhakika kabisa kwamba mambo mengi mnayofanya ninyi kama profession yenu yana roots za stress sana, si ndio? Kuna mazingira mengi sana yanawapa stress, na tutaona stress zilivyogawanyika. Lakini natamani pia mwishoni nikusaidie namna gani unaweza kumanage. Hello? Okay. Mko tayari kusikiliza? Saikolojia inaniambia dakika 5 za kwanza ukisimama mbele za watu, dakika 5 za kwanza, the first 5 minutes, wanakuevaluate, wanakuassess. Unaangalia ulivovaa, kama umekosea rangi, mkanda umeisha, viatu yukoje, hivi ndio huyu tulijua na kitambi, tulijua mkubwa sana yuko hivi. Alafu dakika 5 zikishaisha ndio unaanza kwa ukija, alafu ukaanza kupiga nondo dakika 5 za kwanza. Alafu naongea na engineer. Na bahati mbaya presentation yangu si ya kiengineer sana, haina michoro, ina picha tu. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu sitaki nikupe stress. Nataka nikusaidie kumanage. Tuko pamoja Vitu viwili ambavyo kwa experience ya kusoma professions tofauti na experience ya being a counselor for almost 20 years now, ni vizuri ufahamu professions zetu zina nurture a personality or an attitude kwenye maisha yetu. The training ulionayo. Aliyefundishwa kuwa social worker, aliyefundishwa kuwa engineer, aliyefundishwa kuwa lawyer, aliyefundishwa kuwa architect, aliyefundishwa kuwa chochote. Training tulizonazo, they spend longer time kwenye maisha yetu. And they affect our attitude and perceptions and hence affect our behavior. Zinaathiri tabia zetu za kila siku. Mwisho wa siku zinatupa athari mpya mpaka tunapoingia kwenye mahusiano. Okay, kama hujanielewa nitakwambia hivi. Professions ambazo tunaziita the non-people professions. Unafahamu non-people? Non-people ni profession ambazo hazizungumzi sana kuhusu watu, kuhusu tabia. Zinazungumza kuhusu vitu. Engineering is one of them. It's about issues, it's about numbers, it's about things. Sasa mara nyingi profession ambazo ziko kwenye non-people zina tabia moja au mbili. Zinamdisconnect mtu kutoka kwenye emotions, kwenye hisia, kwenye feelings. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu sio vitu anavyovifanya mara kwa mara. Unafahamu, unashinda unatengeneza barabara, unatengeneza mitambo, unatengeneza hivi. Issues za kwamba umeniumiza, mbona hukuwepo, mbona hujaja. Yani it's like, ili nini sasa? So what? Na kuna wanawake wengi wanakuja kwenye ofisi yangu, ananiambia, mimi naambia mpenzi wangu, kwani hata huko la vida, naambia la vida mimi engineer. Kwa nini? Kwa sababu the nature of training disconnect people from emotions and feelings. Tunakubaliana? Sasa hii hata ukatae, no research, no data, no right to speak. Bina research. That is a fact. Sasa zina kutrain namna ya kufikiri, attitude, perceptions. Ukideal na issue, you deal with issue as an engineer, not as a human being. Yani when you're a leader, when an engineer is a leader, he deals with issue. He wants issue to happen. He wants results. And they forget that they're dealing with people. Am I speaking to somebody? You're forgetting that you're living with people. Mtu kana kwambia, samani, niko na stress, nina undergo divorce, kwa please 2 days naomba nisiweje. Usije ofisini kwa sababu una divorce. Come work, Joe, fanya kazi. Sasa hizi zinatokea. Mwisho wa siku, it affects the way you deal with your relationship, the way you deal with your husband, the way you deal with your wife, the way you deal with your children. Nataka 100. Mwambia mtoto wako, nataka nione 100 hapa ya hesabu. Isipokuja na kuchini. Wewe unafahamu mimi nilivyokuwa na so. Ile kwamba ukipata hivi nitakununulia baskeli. Yaani nikununulia baskeli ufaulu wewe, nikununulia baskeli mimi babako. Because of being non-people. Lakini kitu kingine ambacho kinaweza kuwa, nataka nikuelezee mazingira kwamba kwa nini mnapata stress ili niwasaidie kuzitoa, sawa eh? Kitu kingine ambacho it might have some impact on the non-people professions, on engineers for instance, is that training ya engineers inawafanya sana engineers to consider themselves as a noble profession. It is true, it's a noble profession, it's a reputable profession. Lakini nakujengea picha ambayo hata jamii, unafahamu hata jamii, hivi unafahamu kuna wazazi ambao wanamlazimisha mtoto wake akasoma engineering, lakini mwambie wewe baba, hivi unafahamu engineer anafanya? Anasema mimi sijui. Lakini awe engineer. Because you consider yourself as a noble profession, but the society consider you as a noble profession. Mara nyingine unafahamu unapokuwa kwenye kikao cha harusi, ukisimama ukasema mimi ni engineer Joseph Rokatare, it affects hata amount utakayosema. Na mnafahamu mnavyojua lazima uanze na engineer. Kwa hiyo mara nyingine inabidi uiache tu ile engineer, maana ukijua kifuatacho ITV ni Sidingo. So ukisema mimi ni engineer Joseph fulani fulani na idi 20,000. Wanaanza kuangalia amesema. Bora sisi ukisema dokta, mtu anaweza kujua dokta nani. Unaweza kuta dokta tiba mbadala. Hayo ukisema tu engineer, mtu anajua kabisa huyu kaenda shule, anajua vitu. But let me tell you, where does the stress come? Mara nyingine the reality in life goes contrary. Am I speaking to somebody? Mara nyingine reality ya maisha inaenda tofauti na ile noble profession. Unatoka na noble profession yako University of Dar es Salaam, umegonga miaka yako mingapi ile? Wakati nasoma mimi ilikuwa 4. Ni bado 4 vile vile. Halafu uende na huu mwaka wa mnafanya internship mingine ya kuwa registered, sio? Una mandoto yako makubwa, alafu ukapendana na mtu naye analindoto kwako wewe, sio kwake analindoto, so wewe ni engineer. Anajua ukitoka hapa unafungua kampuni. Haelewi kwamba una miaka mingine 3 ya kuwa registered, kwa sababu you are not registered. Haelewi mambo ya I'm not registered. Kama si apply tenda. Alafu ukishafika mtaani, you come to realize, siku ya psychology tunasema when the rubber meet the road. Pale ambapo kiatu kinakutana na njia, kwamba the noble profession is a mentality. Unakutana kwamba kuna miaka ya kusubiri tenda, kuna miaka ya kupata tenda. Hii report writing mnaandikiwa hapa inabaki kuwa information, lakini unashangaa mbona hupata hata mwanya wa kuandika hiyo report. Hela inapita kwingine, wewe unapita kwingine. And nakumbuka ile jina lako lenye ENG liko pale pale, alijaondoka, engineer so and so. And you come to realize the reality becomes contrary to your expectations. That is where stress zinakuja, depression inakuja. Na wengine wanasema mimi naona hamna haja ya kuishi, wanaingia kwenye suicidal ideations. Wengine wana attempt kabisa kujiua, kwa sababu reality inakuwa tofauti. Na mbaya zaidi, kuna mmoja ulisoma naye ni engineer kama wewe, bahati mbaya ametusua. When you look at him, registered, kampuni, tenda, gari,